For dinner tonight, I'm pulling back up on Texas Roadhouse. I haven't eaten here in 7 or 8 months and I was really craving it, so I'm gonna order some things I've never had before. For my entree, I'm getting the combo appetizer, and for my meal, I'm getting the chicken critters with ribs. But first, I gotta tear into these rolls. I love how warm the bread is, and that honey cinnamon butter is so good. I almost fill up on these alone every time, but I gotta save some room for this appetizer sampler. For some reason, I had no clue they served twisted mozzarella sticks, so I have to try them. And honestly, they're much better than I expected. The cheese pool says it all. They're super hot, and the batter itself is very flavorful. I always get the loaded potato skins, and they never skip out on the cheese or bacon, and I love how thin and crispy the potato itself is. And if you're eating these, you gotta dip it in ranch. It makes it so much better. But honestly, one of my favorite appetizers here are the rattlesnake bites. I love super cheesy, spicy food, and this is that into the perfect bite-sized ball. After all that bread and those appetizers, I'm a little nervous looking at this platter, but I've never had their chicken critters. I'm dipping them in honey mustard, and the first bite alone has me a little shook. I love how crispy they are, and the meat is super juicy, but not overly juicy to where it's soggy. These are definitely the perfect texture and flavor combo. The last time I got their ribs, I loved them, and I'm just gonna go straight in and take a big bite out of them. I love the flavor of the barbecue with the tender meat. At this point, I'm in here eating these like chicken wings, and tell me why there's an elderly man that's been staring at me the whole time. At this point, I'm starting to get stuffed, but I can't turn down their gooey mac and cheese. It's so hot and cheesy, and I absolutely love their Texas chili. It has a nice spicy kick to it, and it was the perfect way to finish this meal. I'm definitely bringing the rest of these rolls home for later. For dinner tonight, I'm eating at one of the hardest restaurants to get a reservation at in Cincinnati. This place is called Soto, and it's snowing pretty heavy here tonight, which is the only reason I was able to snag a table. I could definitely use a cocktail to warm me up after all this snow, so I'm going with the Amalfi. It's super strong and citrusy with a hint of mint. For my entree, I'm going with the goat cheese hazelnut honey grilled bread. The goat's cheese tastes amazing with the hazelnut honey and the nuts on top. For my entree, I'm going with the pomodoro, which is tomato, baby arugula, and ricotta. This restaurant is underground, and the atmosphere is super dark and gloomy, yet cozy. And this is definitely my type of pasta. I love how the ricotta pairs with the marinara sauce and the arugula. Since their pasta is made in-house, I'm also going to try the capicelli, which has short rib. I'll admit, when I was ordering this, I thought it was going to look completely different. The short rib is infused into the noodle, and the noodle itself kind of has an eggy taste. I've never had a noodle taste this eggy, and I don't know if my taste buds are just underdeveloped, but I don't really care for it. However, this pomodoro pasta is super fire. For dessert, I'm having the ricotta stuffed donut balls, which come with 3 different dipping sauces. For some reason, I thought ricotta cheese was going to come pouring out of the ball when I broke it open, but it's sort of baked into the dough. I'm going with that chocolate sauce, and it tastes so good with the powder on the donut. They're served hot, and it's the perfect way to end this meal. For lunch today, I'm pulling up on the Cheesecake Factory, and I'm only going to be ordering things I've never had before. For my drink, I'm going with the Passion Mint Fizz Mocktail. I've been cutting back on drinking, so this is perfect for me. It's not super syrupy, which I appreciate. It's light, refreshing, and tastes really good. For my appetizer, I'm going with the chicken Thai lettuce wraps. For my entrees, I'm grabbing the macaroni and cheese burger and the lemon chicken piccata pasta. I've heard a lot of good things about these Thai lettuce wraps, so I'm super excited to try these. This chicken looks amazing, and I finally get to show y'all my rolling skills. This peanut sauce is definitely my favorite, and I love how fresh and crisp the vegetables taste. The chicken is juicy and flavorful, and I'm definitely going to order this again. The macaroni and cheeseburger's here now, and this thing looks insane. I'm not a huge burger person, but I am a fan of their fried mac and cheese balls. I feel like this would be way better if the meat was thinner and it was more of a smash burger. I honestly just don't think this is for me, and I would rather have the fried mac and cheese ball by itself. The meal that I'm most excited for is this lemon chicken piccata. The chicken is smothered in a lemon sauce with mushroom and capers, and I think it's zestier than meat. It's slightly creamy, but super citrusy and tangy. The chicken is juicy and flavorful, and this is actually my first time trying capers. I love how salty they are. It makes it even better, and this is definitely one of my new favorite meals. I'm usually too full for dessert, but I've been really wanting to try their tiramisu cheesecake. I love the taste of coffee and desserts, and the espresso powder on top of this cheesecake is perfect. This is everything that I eat in a day while cooking at home. I usually skip breakfast and go straight to lunch, and today I was really craving shakshuka. It's super easy, and it makes for the perfect brunch. I'm going to start off by cutting up 6 tomatoes, 2 red bell peppers, and an entire onion. Now that everything's chopped, I'm going to throw some oil in a pan with tomato paste and let that simmer down, and then add some garlic. Now I'm going to add all those vegetables, let it simmer for about 10 minutes, and pour in a half a cup of spicy chicken broth. This is one of those recipes where I use every seasoning in my cabinet pretty much. While those seasonings marinate together, I'm going to chop up some cilantro and throw that in. Now that it's slightly thickening up, I'm going to create some pockets to drop those eggs in. I'm using 6 eggs, and I'm just going to cover on the stove for about 8 to 10 minutes. I just took these baguettes out of the oven, so I'm going to chop them up, and this shakshuka looks so good. I'm going to top it with more cilantro and some feta cheese. This dish is truly full of flavor. I love how the spice and those tomatoes pair with the egg. And scooping it all up with some bread is the best way to eat it. After eating such a hearty meal, I decided to get out of the house and go somewhere scenic. I live about an hour away from the Cumberland Falls of Kentucky, and I used to go here all the time as a kid. It's been super rainy lately, so I'm glad I got to catch it on such a beautiful day. For dinner, I'm making a Tuscan lamb soup. I'm starting off by cutting up some carrots, celery, and onion. I usually eat dinner kind of late. It's around 8:30 now. I'm using sun-dried tomatoes in this recipe, so I'm using the oil from that to cook those vegetables in. Now I'm gonna season the hell out of these and let them simmer for about 10 minutes and throw my meat in. I prefer lamb over ground beef and Italian sausage, so I'm using that. Now I'm gonna throw in some garlic, thyme, red pepper flakes, and some tomato paste to spicing it up and thicken it up. Now that the meat's done, I'm gonna deglaze it with some white wine and throw in some Worcestershire. I'm adding 2 cans of Great Northern beans and an entire box of chicken broth. This is my first time cooking this recipe, and it honestly looks great so far. I'm throwing in some sun-dried tomatoes and a half a cup of half and half with some spinach. My kitchen smells amazing, and this looks absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and plate it up and add some Parmesan cheese on top. Now it's time to demolish this. I love how the spinach and sun-dried tomatoes add a freshness to it. It's insanely flavorful and filling. I'm definitely gonna make this again. Today I'm taking you guys grocery shopping with me, and my first stop is Costco. Not gonna lie, I did eat a gummy before coming in here. The first thing to catch my eye is this Hello Kitty boba milk tea, so I'm gonna grab that and some strawberry yogurt covered pretzels. I gotta re-up on some Rails marinara while I'm here, and this basil pesto parm dip looks really good, so I'm gonna grab that along with some quiche for breakfast in the morning. I like to keep my fridge stocked with Poppy, so I'm gonna grab a box of those, and now it's time to go to Trader Joe's. But first I decided to stop at Chicken Salad Chick to grab a quick snack. I've been obsessed with eating here lately, it's so good. I love the croissant, pickle, broccoli salad, and the cookie. Now that I'm full, it's time to tackle Trader Joe's. I'm gonna start off by grabbing some focaccia bread and chicken meatballs for dinner tonight. I'm cooking a 1-pan orzo meal, so I'm grabbing that along with this chicken broth. I drink kombucha every day, and these ones are my favorite. Now it's time to head home and make dinner. I'm gonna start by frying these chicken meatballs in a pan with some oil. Now that they're fully cooked, I'm setting them aside and throwing some butter in that same pan. I'm adding 1.5 cups of orzo, and I'm gonna let that brown in the butter for a few minutes. Now I'm gonna add in 2 cups of chicken broth and a half a cup of heavy cream. Now I'm gonna add my favorite seasonings, Parmesan cheese, and those meatballs, and let it cook for about 10 minutes until the orzo's done. This smells amazing. I'm gonna throw in a handful of spinach, more Parmesan cheese, and plate it up. Not only does this look amazing, but it tastes so good. All it needs is some Texas Pete on top. Definitely adding this to my meal rotations, and the focaccia bread pairs with this perfectly. For dinner tonight, I'm trying beef Wellington for the first time ever. I'm at this restaurant called the Greenbrier, tucked away in the mountains of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I love the cozy log cabin aesthetic of this place. As soon as I sat down, they brung out a spoon bread. It's similar to cornbread, but with a soft custardy texture. Growing up in Kentucky, my dad made cornbread all the time, and while this is super smooth and creamy, I definitely prefer his. For my appetizer, I'm having the French onion meatballs. For my entree, I'm having the lamb shank, but what I'm most excited for is the beef Wellington. I'm obsessed with anything French onion, so when I saw these meatballs, I knew I had to have it. They're made of ground steak and topped with Gruyere cheese and sourdough bread, and they soak in a French onion broth, which makes the flavor incredible. This is the perfect appetizer, and I had to drink that French onion broth. And as if that wasn't enough to warm me up, they brung out a tomato bisque soup, which tastes incredibly fresh and creamy. And you already know you're at a bougie restaurant when they bring out a palate cleanser. This is a lemon sorbet, and it's super sour. It left my taste buds tingling, and now I'm definitely ready to tear into these entrees. The lamb shank is served over a truffle mac and cheese with a red wine lamb juice. The meat is super tender. It fell right off the bone, and the flavors are so amazing. Lamb is one of my favorite meats, and it pairs perfectly with this mac and cheese. Now it's time for the real star of the show, the beef Wellington. I've been wanting to try this for so long. It looks beautiful, and the waiter said theirs is the best you could get anywhere. I would love to know what Gordon Ramsay thinks of that. It's beef prosciutto and mushroom wrapped in a puff pastry and baked. The steak is cooked perfectly, and I love how the salty prosciutto pairs with the mushroom and puff pastry. I'm actually speechless at how good this is. For dessert, I'm finishing this all off with a chocolate mousse creme brulee. The bitter chocolate pairs amazing with the custard. Everything I ate here was a 10 out of 10. This is everything that I eat in a day while visiting Cincinnati, Ohio. Starting off for breakfast, I'm at this coffee shop and bakery called Moxie. They have a ton of croissants and bagels, but as soon as I saw this giant breakfast croissant, I knew I had to have it. It's stuffed and baked with bacon, cheddar, green onion, egg, and topped with chili oil and a mountain of Parmesan cheese. This might be the best croissant I've ever had. The bacon and egg are cooked perfectly, and the chili oil on top adds a great flavor. For lunch, I've decided to get German food at this restaurant called Hofbrauhaus. It's right across the river in Newport, Kentucky, and the inside is decorated beautifully. For my meal, I'm having the classic braised pork shank, and there's no way I'm passing up on this giant pretzel combo. It's the size of my head and comes with 3 different dipping sauces. It's super warm, fresh, and tastes amazing, especially with the beer cheese. The braised pork shank is here now, and this thing looks insane. Right away, I can tell the meat is super tender because the bone slid right out, and I used it to mash up the meat. This meal is definitely a 10 out of 10, and it pairs amazing with the mashed potatoes and sauerkraut, and topping it with some spicy brown mustard makes it even better. It's dinner time now, and we're at an Italian restaurant called El Posto. This place is decorated beautifully, and I'm starting off with the arancini, which is deep fried macaroni and cheese balls. I'm also going to grab some burrata, and for my main meal, I'm getting the cacio e pepe. These mac and cheese balls immediately reminded me of the Cheesecake Factory, so I'm going to see if they're better. Right off the bat, they're super cheesy, crispy, and the sauce has an amazing flavor. It's definitely a 10 out of 10, but I gotta stay loyal to the Cheesecake Factory. I'm such a sucker for focaccia bread, and you can never go wrong with some burrata. It's topped with tomato honey, which adds a nice flavor. The cheese wheel for the cacio e pepe is here now, and this is quite the show. It's $65 for 2 people, and it's so fun watching them mix it all, and they serve it on this giant plate. The noodles are cooked al dente, and they're super creamy. I love the taste of the black pepper. It pairs amazing with all that Parmesan cheese. For dessert, I'm having cafe affogato. This is a ball of vanilla gelato covered in espresso. It's definitely one of my favorite desserts, right up there with tiramisu, and it tastes amazing. The hot espresso shots pair perfectly with that cold gelato. It cures your sweet tooth and adds a nice pick-me-up. Today I'm taking you guys with me to one of the largest grocery stores in the world. Jungle Gyms is a 200,000 square foot international market located in Cincinnati, Ohio. There's animatronics around every corner, and this place feels super nostalgic even if you've never been. They even have a big cheese in the middle of the store that weighs 893 pounds. Just when I thought I've seen it all, I stumbled upon this $90 ostrich egg. I'm grabbing some of my favorite international chips. These pickled onion Monster Munch are so good. I'm also a huge fan of these Cadbury Crunchy Rocks from Britain. This grocery store is like a museum. There's something cool to see everywhere you look. I'm grabbing these peanut butter and jelly crepes from France along with these Eiffel Tower noodles. As soon as I saw this, I knew I had to make pasta for dinner, so I'm grabbing some marinara and cheese. I'm genuinely shocked at how good their dessert shelves look, along with their produce on the other hand, which looks super vibrant and fresh. Now that the bag is secured and the snow is pouring, I'm heading back to my Airbnb to cook dinner. I paid $50 for everything you see here, which honestly isn't too bad. I'm so excited to destroy this bag of Monster Munch. I've decided to make a meatless bolognese for dinner tonight using my new Eiffel Tower pasta noodles. Unfortunately, at the last minute, I realized I can't even eat these noodles because they contain cuttlefish and I have a fish allergy. Luckily, I have this entire bag of Crunchy Rocks to cheer me up. Before dinner tonight, I'm heading out to Trader Joe's to make the viral onion dip pasta. The key component to this recipe is obviously the caramelized onion dip. You're gonna need some crunchy chili onion and garlic. If you're making pasta, you have to have cheese, so I'm grabbing some Parmesan. I stumbled upon this French onion focaccia bread, and I'm so excited to try this out. Lastly, I'm grabbing spaghetti noodles and some dark chocolate covered pistachios to snack on. Now that the bag is secured, I'm gonna pop in the mall to grab a new fit for the new year. This sweater caught my eye, and I love how it looks with these baggy jeans, so I had to get these. I'm back home now, and the first thing I want to do is try out this French onion focaccia bread. I'm throwing this in the oven for a few minutes to get it nice and warm. I love the crispy onion and cheese flavor, and I think it's gonna go great with this pasta. I'm gonna let my noodles boil while I start on the sauce. I'm dumping this entire container of the caramelized onion dip into a pan, adding half a cup of reserved pasta water and mixing it up. Now that it's a saucy consistency, I'm adding 4 cloves of garlic for more flavor. I love the crunchy chili onion, so I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of this and mix it all up. This already looks amazing. Now that the sauce is done, I'm gonna throw in my noodles. Now that they're nice and coated, I'm gonna go ahead and plate it up and top it with some Parmesan cheese and more of that crunchy chili onion. I must say I'm quite impressed with how delicious this looks, so it's time to give it a try. It's insanely creamy and the onion flavor is so good. The French onion focaccia bread is the perfect side for this, and I'm definitely going to be making it again. For dinner tonight, I'm going to be cooking French onion soup pasta. If you are an onion hater, this recipe is not for you because I'm starting off by Juliet cutting 3 onions. Once those are all cut up, you want to throw them to the side and put some oil and butter in your pan to start the caramelization process. Caramelizing onions seems like it takes an eternity, but it's so worth it. You want to gradually turn the heat down while they're cooking, and by the time it's done, it should be a nice golden brown. Now that that's finally done, I'm throwing in some Worcestershire sauce and some white cooking wine to bring out those flavors. My kitchen smells delicious already. I'm going to throw in a generous amount of thyme and garlic. For my seasonings, I'm going to use this garlic and wine seasoning. I use this on everything and it's so good. Now that the onion base is done, I'm throwing in a half a box of mini rigatoni noodles. And then all in the same pan, I'm going to add 32 ounces of beef broth. And I'm just going to let this cook until the noodles are done. This is my first time making this and I can already tell it's going to be a staple. Now that those noodles are done, I'm throwing in some Gruyere cheese and a half a cup of heavy cream. At this point, it's looking super creamy and my stomach is growling. I'm actually blown away at how good this looks. French onion is my favorite soup and I love pasta. Now I'm going to plate this up and give it a try. I'm not going to lie, this might be the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. It's insanely flavorful and creamy and it kind of has me shook. You guys need to try this and I hope you all had an amazing Christmas.